Hello, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Some Good News, the happiest podcast in all of hospitality. As always, I am your host here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Tyler Ford. Tyler, how are you doing?
Caleb, I'm doing great, but I think you may have just upset Adam Stoker by claiming your podcast to be the happiest podcast
It's
in all of
great.
hospitality. So we'll see how he feels.
That is a
Hey,
great
no,
point.
I just had a thought at listening to the ukulele while I look at the electric guitar in your background. It's just, should we add? We can both play electric guitar.
It's true.
We got Jeremiah on today. Jeremiah, should we add a little electric guitar? Just a
I
little riff?
mean, maybe. I was sad. That was like the chillest riff that we've gotten from Caleb on the intro there.
Uh-huh.
Like it's just the happiest podcast. We didn't get any like happiest or anything like that, which is
Mhm.
what I was looking for.
Yeah, what
So
is this?
Yeah.
We'll ask the audience. Am I off my game today? I don't know. Maybe I am. And that
Okay.
is a great point. Leave it in the comments if I'm off my game. But who I know someone on this call who is on their game, and that is my first mentor ever in hospitality and tourism, Mr. Jeremiah Cook. Jeremiah, how the heck are you, sir?
I'm great. Glad to be here.
Well, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about what you do.
So my name's Jeremiah Cook, and I am I lead the team at Visit College Station in College Station, Texas, which is the home of Texas A&M. I've been in the industry for over 10 years. I started at Visit Athens. I know y'all have talked about it quite a few times on this podcast, but I, like many, did not plan on being in the tourism industry and just kind of fell into it. I was looking for a job while I was at the University of Georgia, and an opportunity to be a front desk guy came open at the Classic Center there in Athens. And so I worked 12 hours a week as a front desk person, and they said, "We really, really like you, Jeremiah. We want to upgrade you to less part-time, but still part-time." So I went from 12 hours a week to 20 hours a week. And then really through some great mentors and people that really believed in me, got the opportunity to come on full-time there at Visit Athens in the convention sales and servicing realm. And so I was at Visit Athens for 5 years. And then in 2020, had the opportunity to move to Rochester, Minnesota, where I helped sell medical conferences there at Experience Rochester. And in 2022, we realized it was kind of cold in Minnesota. And so we moved to somewhere that is never cold, and that is College Station, Texas.
You seem to be in a lot of sports towns, so I really want to pick your brain on this a little. My wife and I, we've been planning this Rome trip, Italy trip, kind of planning, kind of fantasizing. But after the Olympics, I'm like, we've got to include Cortino on this. Like, that is sick. It's beautiful. It's awesome. Like, wow, that just had me thinking about like sports and tourism and like just the impact that it has and that the visibility of locations. I just want to, how do you feel living in, Athens, Aggie land? How have you seen the sports just grow those locations?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's really interesting because I am not a sports guru. Like there's people in our industry that are sports tourism people. And like when you talk to them, you're like, hey, you're really into sports. And like I'm a dog fan, right? Like I love the dogs. I grew up being a Braves fan, and I pay for the ability to watch every Braves game of the season, right? But that does not by any means qualify me as some great sports tourism expert. But specifically in College Station, it's been really interesting because we just announced a really large event that's actually a made for TV event. It's a track and field event, and so it'll be streamed on NBC in June, and we're super excited about it. But it's that visibility that comes from that, and when we look at our destinations, sometimes we just have to know what our strong points are, and in that conversation, one of our strong points is that College Station has elite athletic facilities and elite athletic teams. And so, while maybe you're not looking at College Station and saying, you know what, it's just like Rome. I'm going to go spend a weekend there because I just love the leisure opportunities that are there. Unlike maybe somewhere else where it's a beach location or a mountain location. But there's a reason to be in College Station. It's because you want to be at that facility, or you want to connect with that specific coach, or you want to, I mean, all of those different things. And so I think it's a really interesting concept that that sports would really bring us to the forefront, even if maybe we're not the strongest leisure destination. But at the end of the day, our goal is to grow the local economy through tourism, right? And so
Yep.
that doesn't mean that we all have to be a beach location. That means that we've got to do what we can for our local economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those things like know who you are and know how to bring in the people. I think a lot of times destination marketers, we try to be all things to all people. And we want leisure, we want Smurf, we want meetings, we want sports. It's like we kind of want this big cauldron of soup of everything. But at the end of the day, sometimes the best dishes are ones served in simple ways, right? Like the sports market, you've had this career of growing the sports market and now you're in a position to do so in leadership. And so, first of all, great to continue to keep leveraging that. And congratulations in your role here. One of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about is this foundation of leadership. So I love the way you introduce yourself. You lead the team, right, at your destination. And I think that is a great way to look at things. How should destination leaders be thinking differently in 2026 compared to when you and I befriended each other 5 or 6 years ago? Like, what does that shift look like in today's tourism economy?
Yeah, I think, we have to be, I mean, I don't think this is anything new, right? We've got to be more transparent than we've ever been. We've got to be more accountable than we've ever been. And we've got to be more intentional. It is a marketplace that's really, really packed. Every destination is out there trying to get the same visitors to come to their location. I feel like, even 15 years ago, um, back when I was getting my start, I would turn on the TV, and if you saw one destination ad, you'd go, "Whoa, wow, look at that! Visit St. Pete Clearwater is doing an ad here in Atlanta," right? Like that wouldn't be a shocking fact. But now it's like you turn off the Visit Detroit bowl game, and three more ads for seven destinations paired together comes on, and like it is that much more packed. And I think that some of that came from just funding mechanisms. The DMOs were coming into new spaces, and some of it is that targeting that we can do now. It's a lot better than it used to be. Um, but overall, I think it's a much more packed landscape when it comes to marketing. And I think that as we start talking about how we lead, more and more we've got to ensure that the accountability and the transparency is paramount, right? That
Yeah.
we are using so often some form of a tax dollar to be able to do the work that we do. And with that comes that we've got to be prudent in how we spend money, and we've got to be clear, and we've got to have policies and procedures, and we've got to, every when I went through my CDME, which is certified destination management executive course, there was kind of this entire few hours devoted to, I don't want to call it failures across the industry, but failures where people had said, you know what, like I'm going to be a little bit cavalier with my travel spending. I might cut out and go buy this that maybe I shouldn't, and it was scary. It was a really scary moment. I don't want to get dark on this podcast because you guys do so much work to keep this positive, but the reality is that we're all dealing with public funds, and all of us could take a wrong step and be in a really bad spot. And so to protect ourselves from that, we have to be super, super transparent and ensure that the guardrails are put in place to protect from us and to protect our teams from being able to get into situations that we don't need to be in and that damage the industry as a whole.
Yeah, and we had Gathan on last week, and we were talking about the importance of transparency and leadership. And yeah, I totally agree. And I love keeping things light and happy, but at the end of the day, you are correct. Like we are the stewards of the destinations we serve, and we're stewards of the tax dollars that are remitted to our organizations. So it's really on us to open that door of transparency and to make sure that we are not only the expert on destination marketing, but we're also a good steward of the funds that we have, because at the end of the day, they are public funds. So really appreciate you kind of breathing some insight into that. Um,
And I think something else that's really interesting there is that what that brings to our staff. We talk about like how we lead our teams, because as a destination executive, we've got so many stakeholders. One of the books that I love, talks about how everyone's selling, right? We are all in sales roles. I came up on the convention sales role, and now I don't sell to convention planners as much as I sell to city manager's office, my board, my council, my hoteliers. I mean, everyone's selling in some way. And when you become a lot more transparent with what you're doing, you're also going to think about how do we work with my staff through this? Because also now everything's out there, and we want to make sure that they're getting the information they need to keep doing what they do well and to keep growing, but also not so much information that they are like, I don't want to be a part of this. Like this is too much for me. And so I think it's a really interesting kind of dynamic. Just recently, we're working through our strategic planning process right now. And part of that strategic planning process, part of the pitch is that we would be adding a few positions to specifically work with Texas A&M as we began this call, talking about how that is our highest ROI in our community. And we've been talking for a while with with our consultants, with our leadership team. How do we, what does this look like? How would the org chart of the future look for us, and how would we do it? But then before we met with the board on this, because our board meetings are public, and once we post an agenda, it is a public record, we had to meet with the team and talk to them about, hey, you know what, the board could say they don't like this, they could say they love it. But either way, we want you to know that this could be a change that could happen here, right? And that's a change than maybe 10 years ago, where you would have just kind of worked with the board on these things. And then after you shake everything through, whatever comes out in the wash, you then bring everybody on board. It takes a lot more intentional steps now, but I think it's good because then there's also buy-in that the whole team feels like I've been given my chance to ask my questions. I feel like I can own this in some way, and I could see how X would actually make my job better, or free me up to do these 4 things, or help grow the entire market.
That is awesome. And one of the things I really kind of want to dive into here a little bit on is how have you grown as a leader now leading a team versus kind of working in sales in your own little silo? Like how has that change your leadership style? How have you evolved as a professional and stuff like that?
Yeah. I think that I've grown a lot, and I'm not that old, but I got a lot of failures. I can tell you exactly what went wrong. And so I think it's kind of interesting. You learn from the people that you're around, right? And my my first boss, who is one of my great mentors, Chuck Jones, visit Athens. He's there for many, many years, just recently retired. And he was super, super, super intentional about everything he did. And he was an absolute workhorse and just churned out business. And that's what he did. That's how he made his career, and that's who he was. And then I've had others that are doing a lot of work, but are extremely personable, right? And they are like, if you see them walking down the hall, they're going to stop in, they're going to chat with you for 30 minutes, and then they'll move to the next one, right? And I think that is also super important. And so when I look at how I lead my team, it's that I want to be present, and I want people to know that I'm there. I don't want to be up on some pedestal. My job in a lot of ways requires me to be in the office minimally, right? Because I'm out meeting with different people around the community. I'm out at a trade show this week. I'm doing all these things, but I also don't want people to feel like I'm aloof in some way. So I want to make sure that when I'm in the office, I'm stopping by, I'm checking in, people know that they can come talk to me, that my door's open, but then also that I'm communicating clearly that yes, we can hang out and we can chat and we can do all these things. But at the end of the day, our job is to grow this local economy through tourism. And if that is our job, then we have got to be noses to the grindstone to get that done, because we have a lot of fun in our industry. We love this. We love what we do. And it's a blast. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and the business has to return the ROI, or else the business is failing. And sometimes we can get so caught up in, well, just let us be your destination marketers. Just let us throw some ads out there. We're going to do this whole thing, and miss that point. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about, is making sure that everybody's enjoying themselves, getting to really experience that, grow professionally, but then also that we're getting our jobs done. Because at the end of the day, that is the core of all of this. You don't get to the other things unless we can get the core purpose done.
Do you have any additional advice on that nose to the grindstone mindset, and how you just create a company culture like that?
Yeah, it's really hard.
Mm,
And I would say
Yeah.
that you could probably line my team up and they would be like, yeah, Jeremiah's not great at this. Or there's some things that Jeremiah does that is okay with this. And that's fine. I mean, I always say that hating your boss is the most American thing you can do. But, that's
I
part of
love
it,
that
right?
line.
I've
I
never
mean,
heard
there you
that, and I
go.
love it.
That's great.
But nonetheless, I think that a large part of it is understanding how what you do affects the entire destination, right? And so there's this understanding that when the star report comes in and numbers are down, how did we get here? And was it that I didn't bring the convention I was supposed to bring, or was it that weather kind of canceled a few things? Okay, if weather canceled a few things, nothing we can do about it. If there's a football season one year that brings in, three top tier games and the next year brings in two top tier games, nothing we can do about it. If it's that every year we've hosted a sports tournament over this weekend and this year we just didn't, that's on us. And I think that's a huge part of it is just understanding where is my role in this. More Gas talks about this a lot. It's a hard thing for our industry. We've always kind of just said like when the market lifts, I lift, and when the market goes down, I go down. But the reality is that as we talk about transparency and accountability, we have to focus in on what do we actually affect.
Mm,
And I don't actually pick Texas A&M's football schedule, but what I do is have a staff that's deployed to go grab conventions, to go do leisure marketing, to go do a specific sports tournament. That is what we can affect, and that's the work we've got to put in, and we've got to take accountability when we fall short on that.
yeah, and you brought up a good point, which is communicating that ROI, communicating those shortcomings or those successes to a board. So, in your opinion, in your experience, how should DMOs communicate ROI to boards and elected officials in today's environment? Like, what is a good cadence for that?
Yeah, so we work with a data provider where we each month we're communicating to our board all of the statistics, and that's everything from how our social media is doing to how our ads are doing to how our the sales team's performing. And so we do that on a monthly basis. It's the last item on every board meeting. The report is sent out. We also have a stats page on our on visitcollegestation.com where anybody in the industry or really anyone could go in and know what's the occupancy, what's the rev par, what's just trying to get that information as readily available. And then quarterly, we do a marketing and sales report with our board where we actually take time to give narrative to the numbers that we're reporting on monthly and try to really explain. Marketing is a really hard thing to do on a monthly basis right now because AI is sending so many bots onto your website, and
Yep.
Facebook algorithm has changed only 19 times in the last month, and so everyone's trying to keep up with that. And sometimes when you're just putting numbers in people's hands, they're like, man, you guys, what is going on? And so quarterly, we want to make sure that from a transparency standpoint, hey, monthly, you're going to get these numbers and you're going to have them. And you can ask me any question. It's my job to sit there and take any question you have on this 20 pages, right? But quarterly, we're going to let the actual experts in the field. So my director of marketing, my director of sports, my director of conventions actually tell you, here's the things that I would point out to you. Here's why this went wrong. Here's the lost business. We put a lost business report in there so they understand every single lead that went into our system that didn't make and why. Really just trying to make sure that the numbers are present. We're not trying to hide anything, but then also that there's a cadence where they get a true narrative on it's not just a number. Here's the cycle that we're seeing right now, and here's where we project to be.
That's great. And I actually kind of want to tack onto that a little bit on the opposite end. What are some ROI metrics that are not being presented right now industry wide that you think DMO should start working toward?
It's really tough, right? And I think that we have access to more data than we've ever had. And we also have access to more data than we've ever
Yeah,
had.
air quotes.
Right. And
Emily
so,
Zertucci calls it the data hangover, and I like
yeah,
that.
it's tricky, right? Because I think there's a lot of metrics out there that you can get that maybe you look at and you go like, oh, I don't know if that's true, and I'm not sure how I got here. And I think that's the really cool thing about mobile location data and credit card data and being able to mix all these things together. but also if you can't defend it to your board personally, then they're not going to believe it, right? And it's the same with an economic impact calculation. I mean, I don't I don't have a better answer on economic impact calculators for the conferences we bring to town. At the end of the day, we're given a room night number and we're given a hotel rate and we're expected to say, how did you affect the sales tax base? I don't know how else to get there.
Right.
That being said, telling somebody, I plug these numbers into a system and it spits something out, wink, wink, right? Like
Right.
that's a hard sell. And so I think, that's part of it is we're all trying to learn. I think AI is, ramping this thing up like crazy. But at the end of the day, we've got to speak in the languages that our stakeholders understand. And if we're coming up with new KPIs every day, I think this is a big problem in our industry is that everybody's using a completely different KPI. And even the KPI handbook is 90 pages long and
Right.
says, like, here's just 90 options, right? And so, but at the end of the day, what matters in College Station is not going to matter other places. A quick example is we have a real drought on weekday business in College Station. And that was one of the reasons they brought me on is that as you mentioned earlier, we're a sports tournament town. We do youth sports so well. Monday through Thursday is tough sledding. We have 4 conference hotels, but no real convention center. And so we've really got to make sure that all 4 of those conference hotels are humming at the exact same time to be able to affect the 75% of our market that is limited service properties. And so one of the KPIs that I report on to my council is weekday versus weekend business because they gave us a charge 3 years ago that your job is to keep the weekend business and grow it if you can, but weekday business is what we need because we drop to anywhere between 40 and 50% occupancy Sunday through Thursday, which those not in the industry, that's close to a hotel closing. You can't really operate at 40 to 50%. And so that is a KPI that matters a whole lot to us. And in another destination would be like, yeah, we just need business, period. Right. But to
Right.
us, weekday business counts for more because it matters more.
Hmm. That's really interesting. I love that you can, this is part of the importance of focusing on your niche, which also means focusing on your own individual challenges because that goes along with your niche. And I love that you guys are able to do that there. I'm just curious, like, what are some of your favorite things you've done to help the weekday occupancy? Like, what have you done for the weekday?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're doing a lot of really cool things right now, and I've got to give 100% of the credit to my team. You hire really, really great people, and then you get to experience this stuff. When I started 3 years ago, we had 2 of our 14 positions filled, which was pretty terrible. But the cool thing is that means that everybody on the team I had a hand in, and I get to celebrate their wins because I've watched them grow in this industry, and that's what I love most is being able to see my team excel. We did not have any. We had 2 people on convention sales at the time, and so when I started, we added 3 more. Just really trying to zero in 2 on the sales side, 1 more on the servicing side, because the organization that I inherited was a sports heavy organization, which is super important to our destination, makes total sense. But as I
Sure.
said, I was given the KPI that we needed to grow the weekday. And so we invested heavy in conventions. And now we're putting together a strategic plan that invests heavy in conventions because
Nice.
that is so much what we need. And so a lot of it is new. This week, I'm at a religious planners conference. We did not have anyone in the religious market 3 years ago. And so as we started looking at how do we put together a sales plan, we were doing really well at state association because we're a good drive market in Texas. So that's where all of our resources were going. And we talked about if we are going to actually grow this, we're going to need a Texas A&M. So we hired a sales manager who never goes to a trade show. Her full trade show life is across the street from our office at Texas A&M University, meeting with professors, meeting with meeting planners, trying to convince them to keep their business in town. And then we said we need something. We get big state association, we get big Texas A&M meetings. We need something to help fill the gaps. So we hired a Smurf sales manager, which handles religious, military, amongst other things, fraternal. And her entire job is to help fill those gaps in with this other business that also is interested in that market that we have there.
It's fantastic. And I love seeing this strategic approach. It's not just, hey, let's get heads in beds. It's let's get the right heads in the right beds at the right time for the right economic impact for the destination that you serve. So kudos to you. And I think if there's one takeaway for destination leaders on, listen to this podcast, it's be strategic in your decision making, right? Like, you have a team working under you. A couple other nuggets. You hired the best people for the right job. You grew the team, and now you're thinking strategically. So those three things, it's hard. You have to go uphill, right? Like there is momentum, but once you get over that hill and you start going down the hill, it's a little bit easier to kind of coast with all the foundation that you've laid. So kudos to you for continuing that journey. I know it is not an easy one. You and I talked about when I was doing it for Discover Jackson County. It took a long time. So yeah,
Yeah.
just keep up the great work. Um, One of the things we like to kind of end on is we like to know like what is some good news in your world? It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be anything. But what is some good news?
Yeah. Well, I've got to tell you about the coolest project we're working on right now. And like I've spent this whole time from my sales background because sales is like my heart, it's my baby, it's what I love. But I got to talk about marketing for a second. And I don't really know what I'm talking about on this side. But right now we have we started dreaming a few months ago. We had this person come to town, and I don't really know. This is a hard story to tell without giving away a lot of information, but in essence, they had a mobile visitor center that they had named in conjunction with their town. And so the town kind of named the mobile visitor center, whatever. And I'm at home telling my wife about this, and she says, well, if they have that, then why don't you have the college station wagon? And I was like,
Ah, that's good.
wow, you're a social
That's
worker.
clever.
But that is an incredible idea. And so a few weeks ago, I drove up to Dallas with some people from our fleet in the city there, and we picked up a 1989 Jeep Grand Wagoneer,
Nice.
Woody maroon interior. It got in this week. We're decking it out in College Station gear, all the way from suitcases on top to throw back to the Great American Road Trip to sawed off
Nice.
horns on the front for Aggie Land, horns
Beautiful.
down, and we are going all in on the College Station wagon. And the really cool thing is that the real unveiling of this is we got a sponsorship with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo,
Ah,
where we will be on site for 22 days, and the center of our booth will be the College Station wagon, and I'm super excited about it. Excited to take it to tailgating next year, for it to sit in front of our visitor center, all of these crazy things, but to have a rolling embodiment of our brand and to continue to build that community pride in our destination and to have something that people are going to stop and say, oh, that's really different. I want to take a picture with that. I want to be I know what Aggie Land's about, but that takes me back to my college days. It's just a really, really cool thing. And I can't wait for the public to start engaging with it and to see this kind of roll out over the next few months.
I see Tyler grinning because I think he knows what I'm about to say. Two things. First of all, I love Wagoneers. I'm a big Wagoneer guy, level
Yep.
Wagoneers. Kudos there. Second thing is, as a former Carvertise employee, you hit the nail on the head. I mean that it's all about drawing eyeballs in the right place at the right
Right.
time. My
Yep.
goodness, Jeremiah. Wow. Well, congratulations on that. And
That's
thank you
awesome.
so much for not only the contribution to this podcast, but your contributions to the industry, your energy, and your leadership. We are all very grateful for it. We always like to kind of wrap up by asking, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
Yeah, easiest things to do is check out my LinkedIn, Jeremiah Cook on LinkedIn, and yeah, check it out there. I almost started a Substack after listening to Emily's a few weeks ago, but
Come
then I
on the
read that
Substack.
her Substack was like 20-minute read, and I was like, oh, I don't have time to write a 20-minute Substack, so we'll see about that. But LinkedIn is definitely the easiest place to find me and to follow along.
Wonderful, Jeremiah. And Tyler, where can folks find you?
I'm going to piggyback right off Jeremiah here. You can go check me out on LinkedIn.
The
All right, Caleb.
LinkedIn legend.
Now, yeah. Where can people find you?
People can find me on Substack, Caleb Talks Tourism. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Caleb Sullivan. And then I work for Paradise Advertising and Marketing. We're a full service ad agency. So you can find me at csullivan at paradiseadv.com. And this has been some good news.